The 2005 press conference addressed several issues. During this event, experts publicly announced the attribution of the portrait, its estimated value, its acquisition history, and ownership status. Our openness and transparency indicated that we were ready to accept claims from former owners if anyone had rights to this portrait and believed that the self-portrait was sold improperly. In any case, neither the art cartel, nor the Maltese order, nor the influential individual behind them could simply take this portrait from us or destroy it. Thus, this press conference thwarted the villains' plans again, and they decided to take revenge on us and devised an alternative plan. The villains decided to pressure us through our business. Until 2005, our cosmetics company was thriving. Since 1998, we have been producing our brand of cosmetics at our own factory in France and built a second factory near Moscow, Russia. Our cosmetics were sold in Europe, Canada, China, South Korea, and even Japan. Additionally, we organized an advanced scientific applied laboratory that gained increasing popularity even among well-known cosmetic brands. Our clients included L'Oréal and Jacques Dessange, for whom we developed new product formulas. The workforce at our French factory fully supported Irina and me, and as leaders, we enjoyed universal respect and admiration. Our company never received any subsidies from the state, and Irina and I maintained complete independence. However, just a few weeks after the press conference, unexpected problems began to snowball. Firstly, banks started refusing to refinance or issue new loans to the company one after another. Suppliers demanded payment up front and always delayed deliveries, even when we paid them in full. Retail chains such as Auchan in France terminated contracts with us without explanation. Secondly, our company in France suddenly faced an unprecedented number of inspections, which drained the nerves and time of our management. We were suddenly inspected by various tax authorities, the Labor Inspectorate, the Fraud Repression Agency, the Occupational Medicine Inspectorate, Customs, and even the Customs Inspection. It got to the point where I set up a separate large room for the inspectors, where I placed all the documents and accounting records so they could work there without constantly interrupting us with their questions. We learned to live in a state of constant inspections. And finally, thirdly, our workforce began to experience deterioration and propaganda from both trade unions and Masonic lodges. I never prohibited employees from joining unions. We simply did not discuss the topic. Everyone was satisfied with their salaries, and the moral atmosphere at the factory was healthy. To my knowledge, no one was a union member before 2005. We had a promising employee in the laboratory, and our company helped her improve her qualifications by paying for her training. This employee joined a union shortly after the conference, and within a few months her behavior changed drastically. However, no one else followed her example. Instead, everyone was shocked by how repulsive the change was when a kind and good person suddenly became an activist, constantly creating conflicts. This employee provided the unions with all the information about our company, including personal data of employees. As a result, all 5 major unions in France targeted our employees individually and collectively, like poverty attacking the poor. As a result, several skilled workers came to me one by one, demanding that I fire them under the labor code for a gross error. These were good specialists, and we had excellent relationships with them before. I understood why they formulated these demands. As soon as I fired them under the labor code, they would immediately sue the company. Labor disputes in France are heard by a special court called the Tribunal des Prud'hommes. This is an unprofessional court entirely controlled by the unions. Filing a case in this court is free for dismissed workers, but each process costs the employer at least 10,000 euros. Moreover, we had no chance of winning in this court because the dismissed employees would demand compensation, at least equivalent to 2 years' salaries, plus a large fine. Even if the court heard some of our arguments, we would still incur significant losses in every sense. At the same time, our former employees, dismissed under the labor code, would either receive a large unemployment benefit and rest carefree for at least a year, or easily find another job. So, I refused to dismiss the workers under the labor code and suggested that they resign voluntarily if they wanted to leave. This option was unacceptable to the employees because they would lose their right to unemployment benefits and had no reason to sue us. Therefore, everyone who offered me this deal refused to resign but started threatening to damage our expensive machines and equipment. This made me realize they had already made a secret agreement with the unions. Everything happening with the workforce was, of course, illegal. Such proposals from employees to employers are outright criminal and labor offenses. But I couldn't sue them because there was no material evidence of our conversations, and court cases in France drag on for years. Our conversations took place either in the corridor or outside the building, wherever they could casually meet me. During the time required for a criminal investigation, the atmosphere at the production site would have deteriorated completely, and paradise would have turned into hell. Therefore, understanding the realities, I didn't even attempt to seek protection of my rights through the French justice system. It's useless and never works in the real world. Soon, one of these employees started coming to work drunk, and another really broke the production line, or rather, stopped setting it up correctly, causing our internal quality control to constantly stop the conveyor. Tensions began to rise in production, and conflicts flared up within the team. But we fought back. With the help of other loyal employees, I eventually fired the rotten apples, but not for gross errors, but for violating safety rules, repeatedly appearing intoxicated, and so on. However, the process of decay didn't stop there, and romantic entanglements started within the team, with passions flaring up as a result. Employees were having intimate relations in secluded places during work hours, something no one had allowed themselves before. The strict and clear labor discipline at the enterprise visibly began to sag. Meanwhile, unions openly approached me demanding money. We already paid them the mandatory dues prescribed by law. In France, all enterprises with several dozen employees must pay unions, and if the number of employees exceeds 50, these mandatory dues become enormous, plus the company's management is constantly interfered with by the so-called enterprise committee, which we are obliged to establish through elections. In general, our enterprise found itself in difficult conditions. However, we fought back. Relying on the more or less healthy part of the team and common sense, we, albeit with difficulty, managed to clean our ranks of saboteurs and troublemakers. It was tough with the banks, but we tightened our belts and more or less coped with the financial hunger. We replaced suppliers who constantly delayed deliveries of already paid raw materials with foreign ones, or organized logistics through intermediaries. I asked my French friends, entrepreneurs who also produced cosmetics and perfumes, to buy raw materials in their name and pass them on to us. As for the countless inspections, we turned them to our advantage. For example, we were inspected not just by customs, but by the so-called customs inspection. The customs inspection is a terrifying administrative beast with its head located in Marseille. Inspections by the customs inspection are very rare because the inspection is so important that even customs officials fear it. Moreover, ordinary customs in France is actually a super powerful agency which belongs to the Ministry of Finance, and therefore customs rights are practically unlimited. Customs officers do not need any prosecutor's sanction to conduct searches or break safes if necessary. So, during the period in question, customs in Nice detained a shipment urgently needed by us. It was raw materials and packaging for cosmetics. The head of customs spoke to me rudely and hinted that they would detain the shipment for inspection for several weeks, maybe longer. In desperation, I called the customs inspector in Marseille, a woman, the deputy head of the inspection, who had previously personally inspected our enterprise. Her name was Madame Lillo. Madame Lillo knew much more about the events surrounding us than I did, because after the inspection, she gave me her personal mobile number and said I could call her in an emergency. I decided the emergency had come and called. Madame Lillo answered and told me she was on vacation, sunbathing on the beach. She said she couldn't do anything but asked me to wait a couple of days and call her again if the problem didn't resolve itself. After talking to Madame Lillo, I was very upset. However, within 15 minutes, the head of customs in Nice called me of his own accord. He offered the sincerest apologies, and within a few hours, we received the customs shipment at our warehouse. By the way, these were the only apologies I ever heard from a French person. In general, we fought and didn't give up. Honestly, I didn't connect all the events with the press conference and the Cellini portrait. In my mind, these were entirely parallel worlds that didn't intersect. But the main surprise awaited us ahead. Two unremarkable men unexpectedly arrived at our enterprise, introducing themselves as fairly high-ranking officers of the secret French service called DST at the time. Direction de la surveillance du territoire. Direction de la surveillance du territoire is indeed a secret and powerful French service. Imagine that MI5 or the National Security Agency intelligence officers suddenly come to your ordinary office. You see before you legendary people who previously existed only as movie characters for you. Imagine they came, showed their documents, and wanted to speak with you personally, thoroughly, and in detail. Subscribe to my channel. Dear friends, the story will only get more and more interesting.